Kia ora koutou katoa. I am Evie. Welcome to Use Your Lucies, Change the World, part of Tech Week 2020. It's so lovely to see you all here for this discussion about this feminist fintech solution. Thank you so much for coming. Now, before we begin, I must explain that there's going to be a lot of talk about women. So, you okay to stay? Is that everyone's okay? When I talk about women, I'm talking about the half of the population that grows the entirety of the population. But I'm also talking about anybody who identifies themselves as a woman. Because if you want to come on board with everything that it means to be a woman, then babe, we're with you too. That's my attitude towards that. This fintech solution is also going to hopefully encompass minority genders and marginalized genders as well. So I will be talking a lot about women, but keep that in mind that that's who I'm referring to, those groups. So, as I said, my name is Evie Ashton, and we should probably start at the beginning. And the beginning is that I wanted to go to New York with my crew. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. And I thought I could go to New York with my friends, and this is great. There must be an app out there where we could all save our money together, organize our itinerary, organize a budget, and then we could all save together. This is going to be so much fun. And I looked online and I couldn't believe it. This app already existed in my mind, but there was no app out there where we could all save and travel together. Now, I've got a graduate diploma in psychology, and I'm thinking somebody should build this app. I mean, it's already got gamification built in. You know, what if Nairi has already, saved $500 towards our shopping trip to Manhattan, and I haven't started yet? And I'm going to be like, oh my God, I've got to catch up to Nairi. It's going to be a shoo-in. So then I thought, maybe I should build it. And I've got a couple of decades of experience in broadcasting and journalism and PR. So I immediately start thinking about all the stories and all the content and how beautiful this interactive app is going to look. And I think about the stories I can tell around it. But then I think, oh, okay, so if I build this app and then Nairi, buys a nice set of heels before she gets on the plane for our trip and she falls over and breaks her leg, she's not going to want to go on the trip. Now, if I own this app and this system, I'm not going to want Nairi to take her money out of my system, am I? So I thought, I know, I can build a beautiful retail environment where Nairi can spend her travel dollars instead, so she doesn't take her money out of my system. Oops. I've also got a degree in women's studies, known in more courageous circles as feminism. That to ourselves. And I thought, if I build something like this, I do not want to have an environment that's bad for women. I want everything in my environment to be good for women. In fact, I want more than that. I want an environment that opens up the world for women and the possibilities that women can have, that increases our financial literacy, for instance. Now, I'm also a 40-something Pākehā woman with quite a lot of privilege living in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And the more I thought about this idea, it struck me quite quickly that actually, you know what, who am I to tell women what's good for them? We're all so different. We all need different things. We all want different things. And why the hell shouldn't we have them? Society, culture is already telling us with a great big megaphone what we should look like, how much we should weigh, how we should behave, what we can't do, where we're safe, what's okay, what's not okay. And I don't want to join in on that megaphone voice telling women how to categorize themselves and each other. In fact, I would like an economy of my making to tell women, buy whatever the hell you like. But when you do, it's good for women. So that was the genus of my idea. And there were a lot of iterations to this. And this went on for about a year of me thinking about this. Now, I've mentioned a bit of my background, and you'll see a glaring hole in my background is finance. I don't know, I have no background in banking, finance, fintech, insurance. That's not where I come from. And also, even though I might sound like I'm an excited brain that likes startup stuff, thinking about this app, I thought, oh, I don't want to do a startup. You know, that's a whole industry in itself, starting up. So I tried to forget this idea. I tried not to do this. And I have a meditation practice, and every day I would meditate and I would squeegee the third eye and I would relax. And what would happen? This idea that I'd come to call Lucy's would be straight front and center. So I stopped meditating because I was determined, oh, this is ridiculous. I can't do that. I'm too small. Who am I? I can't do this. Come on and welcome. So I tried to forget about it. And while I forgot about it, these are the sorts of, well, actually, before I get to that, we'll go to this. So why did I call it Lucy's in the first place in my mind? So my grandmother played mahjong, and she had quite a competitive Blue Rinse Brigade that used to get together and play mahjong. And they had their mahjong purses, and in those purses were their 1 and 2 cent New Zealand, you know, coins, 5 cent pieces, 10 cent pieces. And a good day was when grandma was the east wind and she won 50 cents. These tiles were quite cool. They're quite beautiful and quite heavy. And 4 people play around the table if you've never seen it. And the most powerful tile in the game is the wild tile. And one of my grandma's friends had put these little stickers of these cute little girls on the wild tile. And the wild tiles were called the Lucies. And they were the most powerful tile in the game. And so when I was thinking about an economy that generates opportunity and wealth for women, I knew immediately that it would be called Lucy's. That's what it would be called. So, you know, here we are 5 or 6 years ago, and we're going through these years, and I'm trying to forget about Lucy's. And occasionally it'll come up in a conversation in the parties, and then I'll forget about it again. And then the whole time I'm seeing headlines like this. This is a grab bag of the sorts of headlines. You know, roast busters, everyone remembers those teenage boys who were priding themselves on trying to take advantage of girls who were underage and drunk. One step behind, women doctors speak out about sexism. New Zealand teenagers missing school because they can't afford menstrual products. I think has killed the kids, screamed Needham mum as she flees her ex. Will your daughter be paid less than your son? A minority of rape cases make it to court. Do we have a problem? Women sexually harassed in the Air Force starts new claim. Chore wars. Why do women still do more of the housework? It's a mystery. Pacific women at the low end of the pay scale. So this is just a grab bag of headlines. And of course, it's got a negativity bias because I'm making a point, but you could go into any news app right now and there would be headlines like this. And then of course, there are headlines that come with images of faces that look like ours. Image after image after image. And these women were all murdered by a man they'd known for a long time or a man they'd just met, and on some occasions their children as well. Now, not only do we have to worry about that, but adding insult to injury, apparently sexism is rife among crash test dummies. Where does it end? You know, so I don't know about you, but when I live through these kinds of social experiences in my everyday, I feel really powerless. And I feel overwhelmed, and I feel angry, and I feel sad, and I feel frustrated. And then I feel like, you know what? I have to do something. I have to do something. So obviously we're here today. Lucy's didn't go away. And guess what? We're doing it. I don't care. I've had enough. We're going for this. Now, am I whistling in the wind? Is it just me that experiences this and sees this? Well, Lucy's has made its first investment, and that was in some research, proof of concept research. And one of the criteria questions was this question: women have come a long way, but we still don't have the respect and power in society that we should have. 3 out of 4 people agreed with that statement. And I'd also add, we shouldn't have the safety that we should have either. I'd add that in there. So 3 out of 4 people, obviously majority, feel the way I do. I don't know who this hollow outline of a person is there that doesn't agree. I'd like to meet them one day and have a bit of a chat. So that gave me immediately the answer I needed. Yes, there is a problem. It's not just me. It's not just my feminist degree that's whispering in my ear before I go to sleep at night. We do have a problem in society. So what I'm trying to do with Lucies is provide the technology, the process and the platform to turn women into decision makers in the economy. We're already active participants in the economy, but we're not the decision makers. And I want to redistribute the power, the wealth and the influence and create the technology, the process and the platform that makes women the decision makers, shares the decisions in society. And so I'm always going to remember the golden rule. She who has the gold makes the rules. So it's time we had a bit more of it, ladies. What are the waters we're swimming in? Okay, let's look at the market opportunity. Did you know that women are the biggest consumers on the planet? Probably, but to the tune of, we influence more than 70% of the household spend globally, and this holds true for almost every country. Well, this represents a market that's more than twice as big as China and India put together, and it's growing. And that market value is estimated to be about $20 trillion. That's women's commercial power. So I think we should be turning that into social power. But the customer market for Lucies isn't just women. It's actually bigger because anyone can use their Lucies. For example, Brucies can use their Lucies. Who are Brucies? Brucies are our gorgeous men who understand and recognise that women are their equal and they want to actively participate in raising women up because they understand that when you raise women up, you raise everybody up. And we've got a couple of Brucies in the audience and I'm so happy to see you all. It's lovely. The next slide, we're going to start talking about payment cards. We're going to look at that territory. Now, just before I go to that slide, I'd like you to have a guess at how much in a year service providers, card issuers and service providers make in fees, how much they charge in fees for debit and credit card transactions. So we're talking about FPOS transaction, online transactions, any card that's got a chip in it. And the merchant actually gets charged a fee for those transactions. How much do you think in total in New Zealand is made a year from gross fees? Hazard a guess. And who would like to hazard a guess? Yes?
20 billion.
How much?
20 million.
20 million in New Zealand? Okay, remembering that New Zealand has 5 million people and we are one of the most banked nations in the world. I would have thought that. And I had to keep revising this number because it kept going up and up and up. The answer is actually $700 million just in New Zealand. But I shouldn't be surprised because the global cards and payments market in 2019 reached a value of $721.9 billion. And in 3 years' time, it's estimated to reach $1 trillion. Now, of course, these are pre-COVID numbers. And we're yet to see how the coronavirus and COVID-19 is going to affect that. Come on in, have a seat. There's a seat here for you. Those are pretty big numbers, yeah? Big numbers. These are big markets that we're talking about. Now let's have a look at investment. 14% of women in Aotearoa, New Zealand invest in the share market, but 49% feel motivated to do so. Twice as many men than women feel confident to invest, but still not actually that many men invest. It's about twice as many men invest as women. The market value of the New Zealand stock market is about 200 billion, reached that in 2019. And globally, the stock market value is approaching $90 trillion. Why does this matter to us? Because women live longer than men with less money. So the fact that we're missing out on that pie has material consequences for us. Fintech solutions are driving global market increases. Companies like Sharesies, Harmoney and Pledge Me here in New Zealand have opened up the market to micro-investing, to peer-to-peer lending and to crowdfunding. Right? So Sharesies, for instance, currently brokers about 5,000 trades a day. And the average trade is about $220. So that's opened up the market to new types of investment that I would imagine will be much more accessible to women. Let's have a look at the rewards market. Rewards is a growth market. In 2018, the global loyalty market was valued at $172.5 billion. So New Zealand has a few players in this market. The most popular one actually is Airpoints. And they keep doing research and no one knows why, but it is. But let's look at Flybuys. Loyalty New Zealand operates Flybuys. And they made $1.66 million worth of profit in 2018, which was a 3% increase on the year before that. Out of interest, they have 2.4 million members, which is quite a lot of members with about 50 participating companies, but only 75,000 people use their app. So that's definitely an opportunity. Which brings me to Lucies. I love this research participant. This is the most, oh, what's happened here? This is the most novel thing I've seen in banking, they said, in forever. Let's just get this slideshow back up and running. There we go. What is Lucies? Lucies is a partner card. A partner card is when one organisation partners with an existing financial provider and basically white labels one of their cards potentially. But a partner card can also be a card that offers all sorts of different things. So Lucies would partner with an existing financial institution that's already reputable, like a Westpac, a BNZ, an ASB, a Kiwibank, a cooperative bank. It could even partner with MasterCard or Visa and create a whole new card. And what this card will offer is debit and credit. You can spend the money you already have in your bank account, or if you're eligible, you can borrow money through a credit system and use that money now. You can get rewards and deals with a Lucies card, with a Lucies account. You can get rewards on your spend and you can get deals at the till or on your online purchases just by holding a Lucies membership card, a Lucies card. You get investment opportunities. Lucies, the vision is to hook you up with these sorts of investments that might be more palatable to you and that will teach you about financial literacy and your money and growing your wealth. And you'll also get Lucies Fund membership. What is the Lucies Fund? The Lucies Fund is the profit that Lucies makes. So Lucies will exist to increase women's wealth personally, generally, and to create a fund that is then spent every quarter through partnerships with groups that already provide advocacy for women. So that's the Lucies Fund. So let's just pause for a minute because Lucies is exactly what you're thinking it is. It's just a card, but it does all of these things. There's the fantastic bank that's going to partner with us. There's the beautiful card. That one says Lizzie Windsor. I don't know if you can see that. There's our Lucies card holder. Now this Lucies card holder can get deals when they buy. They get rewards on their spend and they get opportunities to invest, which makes her a queen. The Lucies Fund amasses money and every quarter, the Lucies Fund will distribute that money to affiliated partnership groups. Now, if you are a Lucies card holder and you identify as a woman or a minority gender, you get to vote on where that money is spent. Sorry, guys. Maybe next time. So what is it that Lucies is actually trying to do? Yes, Lucies is wanting to provide the technology, the process, and the platform to make women decision makers in the economy, but the Trojan horse of what Lucies is doing is that it's creating a community. We are so diverse, we are so different, but that diversity is our strength. When you can buy whatever the hell you like and it's good for women. So what I'm hoping to do, well, let's just go back for a minute. What I'm hoping to do is create something new that I don't even know will exist yet. What I'm hoping is, for instance, the community. Say in the example that I gave at the very beginning about what I wanted to create, the environment that I thought would be good for women. What I think is the community can advise each other on products and services. You can find out about the ethical supply chain of one of your favorite brands through your Lucy's community, through your recommendations. So you start to see how we can empower each other, not just through our money, but through our education, our philosophies, our knowledge, and passing on to on to on. So back to our research. When we went out to our participants and told them what I've just told you about Lucy's, 62% felt that they were enthusiastic about Lucy's and they thought it was a really exciting way to empower women. I loved that. I was so excited the day I got that result. It was so great. I thought, oh, I can come and talk to you guys now. The appeal is in particular is for women aged 18 to 35 years old. So 2 out of 3 of that group were really, really interested in Lucy's. 66% really liked the idea of the Lucy's Fund and being able to vote. They liked the democratization of that. And this is something that really excites me. 62% of respondents to our research were interested in using a product like Lucy's for investment purposes. So you've got 14% currently investing, and a result like 62% of people that if they actually were given a process, an accessible platform to actually get into investing, might increase their wealth through investment. Now that is the sort of disruption that is real. You know, I hear about these companies all the time, these unicorn companies that are disrupting. Uber is so disruptive. Facebook came out just over a year ago and said they wanted to create their own currency. They were going to create a Facebook currency. It's so disruptive, everybody said. Frankly, no, it's not disruptive. The power, the money, the influence stays in the same hierarchy. That is not redistributed to anybody. Sure, the manner in which that money is made is disruptive, but it's not disrupting any social economy. It's not new. That kind of redistribution of wealth, that is disruptive, genuinely. 4 out of 5 of the people surveyed were most interested in the rewards and the deals. So yes, let's do well for each other. Yes, let's create the Lucy's Fund. Yes, let's vote on where the money goes, but give me something and I'm in. So this is hardly surprising. 84% of the women that were surveyed were most interested in the rewards and deals out of the entire Lucy's package. And this is why Lucy's will succeed, because it's hedonistic, but it's also altruistic by default. Because you get what you want, girl. You go out there and you get it. And when you do, it's good for all of us. So, Lucy's, the business model is that it's an ecosystem. B2B2C, business to business, the customer is the business model, because at the heart of Lucy's is the community. All our queens there in the middle, in the big heart. Then you've got the bank, you've got your app and the technology that's running that, the platforms, the digital payment systems, you've got your retailers, you've got the consumers getting the things that they want. And seeing Lucy's in their everyday lives and the difference it's making for themselves, as well as everybody else. You've got the gifting and the empowering of each other, and you've got the investment piece. And then you've also got the voting. So that is an overview of the Lucy's ecosystem. Yeah. Let's take a look at the customer's journey. This is Janice. Janice is awesome. Janice is a Lucy's account holder. She can now spend the money she has in her account using FPOS, or she can use her card as a credit card if she's eligible for credit. And it just so happens today that Janice is eligible for credit. Janice likes her deals and her special promotions that she gets as a Lucy's card holder when she goes to her favourite stores, bars and cafes. Janice also gets regular updates from Lucy's on what services and products she can get near her at a special Lucy's price. These are all the retailers that will come on board and merchants that will come on board because they're on board with the kaupapa and the idea that spending can empower women, because women is everybody's biggest market. When Janice logs into her account via her desktop or her mobile on the app, she can find out what her available balance is, how many rewards she has to spend, and where she can use them. So with her rewards, and also with her money directly if she chooses to, Janice can give, get, or invest. Okay? Will she grab vouchers for her favourite mall? Will she donate her rewards to Dignity New Zealand to make sure that girls don't miss out on school because they don't have pads and tampons? Or will she microloan her rewards to a woman who's writing her PhD in marine biology? Maybe Janice will become a co-producer in a movie. Maybe this movie is called Wahine Toa Hunting. And it's about women teaching other women how to hunt for food to feed their families. And this organisation, as you'll probably know, does exist near Wellington, the Tararua Ranges. Well, that'd be a fun premiere to go to, wouldn't it? Because Janice would get to go to the premiere because she's now a co-producer in this movie. Now, if none of those options appeal to Janice, she can just put it into her KiwiSaver to go towards her retirement later. When Janice logs into her Lucies account, she can also see what the options are for the Lucies Fund and what they're going to be supporting at the end of this quarter. Janice can vote with the tap of a button on where she thinks the money is best spent this time around. Now, because Janice has a credit limit of $4,000 on her Lucies card, she'll also get pings and nudges to tell her when she needs to start paying that down so she doesn't incur any interest. Because Lucies isn't in the business of generating debt. Lucies is in the business of generating wealth for women. So that is Lucies in a high-level nutshell. I'm going to go to Q&A. If anyone's got questions, if you're watching on Zoom, wherever you are, you can put it into the chat and somebody will yell out to me if there are questions. Thanks, Bernadette. So, hit me. What questions have you got? Yes.
What sort of credit terms are you looking at, and have you looked at Afterpay Touch in Australia, which is also doing some disruption of this market and growing exponentially?
Yes, so Afterpay, for instance, what sits behind most of these digital payment systems is still credit cards. So Afterpay is Afterpay, but it's still a credit system. So as long as you've got a debit and a credit option, you're covered with digital payment systems in the long run. But you're talking about building something which is quite huge, which is why Lucies doesn't want to build a lot. Lucies wants to partner with people who've already built it. It's kind of that situation. And what was the other part of your question? The credit?
What sort of credit terms are you looking at?
That I haven't gone down into that level yet, but Lucies is planning to be really competitive because it needs to be attractive, because whether you are a beneficiary or a barrister, your dollar is worth something and you shouldn't be shut out of opportunities, and you should have just as much economic self-determination as everybody else.
Would you be able to repeat the question?
Oh, of course. Thank you. This person behind that is my technical person. He's not someone we keep in the venue to freak audiences out. Sure, I'll repeat the question, Benny. So that question was about, have I looked at the terms of credit, and have I looked at Afterpay and digital systems? Thank you. Good questions.
We had a question come through just asking how many women were surveyed.
So how many women were surveyed? There were 250 in the ultimate sample, and then there was a consecutive one done with another 100 women. So that 72% at the beginning that agreed with the statement that women don't enjoy the power and respect in society that we should, that was actually 350 people, but 100 of those were weeded out through other criteria questions. So the ultimate research was based on 250, which is a good number to extrapolate out from. Yes?
How do you choose who you partner with as a benefit?
Very good question. So that is going to have to be reputation and research, science-based results, but also that will be the Lucies organisation basically discerning ultimately. And that's why I'm now actively recruiting for people who don't look like me, who don't see the world the way I do. Because, you know, I'm looking through one perspective, and it's going to take an army of people and of women to make this sort of thing real in people's lives. And to do that, you have to imagine what those lives are like, to be able to implement the sorts of partnerships and solutions that are going to have the most effect and influence in people's lives. So that's going to be just discernment through the organisation, and hopefully a very diverse organisation. Yes?
And how's the feedback been from the banks and the institutions that you've been talking with?
So what's been happening is I've been talking to a lot of people and
Can you just say the question?
sorry, I'm forgetting to do that. What's the feedback been from the and people in banking so far? So as you can see, this is very basement level. I mean, this is kind of start before the start up, okay? And I have interestingly I've been following a trail of golden breadcrumbs. I've been speaking to a lot of people in different banks. One bank in particular seems to have been kind of going along with me and saying, oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And which is interesting. The feedback has been, in the first instance, they're interested. In the second instance, who am I and am I serious? Because there's actually a question in the research that came out where in the first round of research of 250 people, there was no information in there about the founder or where this idea came from. And several people in the research were very suspicious and critical and felt like their feminist chain was being yanked and wanted to know, is this a bank trying to capitalize and make money out of the current Me Too vibe? They weren't happy. And then when we went out with another 100 people survey, we included information about me and what this was and why I was doing it. And all of that just fell away. So the fact is, I think that this is necessary. I think it's overdue. In fact, I didn't think, as I said, I would have to do it. I actually thought somebody else would do it. I thought it was so obvious that this needed to be done that somebody else would do it. But you have to have the right philosophical push behind something like this and the right authenticity for it to work, so that people can be sure that it's not going to be overtaken by commercial interests that aren't actually trying to do what you're trying to do. I mean, all of these, you can see, all of these things exist in our economy. Investment, rewards, debits and credit cards, they already exist. All of these things exist. But what's bringing this together under Lucies is purpose. It's community, it's need. It's real change. Yes.
What is your single organising idea?
What is my single organising idea?
Your overriding purpose, which is a goal higher than whatever you're doing now to benefit others?
My overriding purpose is that I don't understand why we are still waiting for respect and power and safety. I don't understand. And so my overriding purpose is to make change now. My overriding purpose is to empower me and empower every other woman now, so that I can go out and buy a loaf of bread and know that I'm making a difference. You know, there's a figure out there at the moment. In New Zealand, pay disparity sits at 9.3% between Pākehā women and Pākehā men. You know, if you're a woman from one of the Pacific Island nations, you're going to be earning 72 cents in the dollar of what a Pākehā man earns. That's not okay. And at the rate of progress that we're going, and progress is never linear, just look around the world at the moment, progress is never linear in these kinds of situations. How long do you think it's going to take before researchers estimate we're going to achieve pay parity? Have a guess. 110 years. So in 2030, we would have achieved pay parity with linear progress at the rate we're going now. That's not okay. We're already having these conversations. Why aren't they translating into change? So I would say that was my SOI, wanting to empower people now, because I don't know about you, but it's quite easy to feel helpless and hopeless and like you're waiting. Well, I'm tired of waiting. What are we waiting for? Permission? Yes.
So I'm really interested in the financial literacy side of it,
Yes.
because it's quite, you know, it is unique. You're not taught this necessarily in school and stuff. But are you saying that the things that the places you invest in are also going to be very narrowed down and specific to things that are helpful towards women, or is it just invest in the share market?
I would hope so. So the question is, will the choices that Lucy's partners with for investing, will they also be narrowed down and good for women? Will they be curated to be good for women? Of course, I would hope so, but that's not the philosophy of what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to say is you do you, and that's good for us. So Lucy should open up the investment market. But what I'm hoping Lucy's will do is highlight some new opportunities that people hadn't thought of yet, that they could do that actually make them money. You know, right now, women could be buying ethically sourced diamonds and wearing them as their investment for a couple of years, and then at the end of those 2 years, flicking them off and making some money out of that. We could be investing in art. We could be investing in each other and making money. So that's the direction that would take. Yes?
Do you think there's an opportunity as well for the community of women at the local level to actually connect with each other, which I think is missing in today's society as well?
So is there an opportunity for local women under Lucy's to connect with each other and create a powerful tribe? Absolutely. And that's the sort of thing that I imagine that Lucy's will set up X, Y, and Z, but A, B, and C will happen as a result of that. Because once you've got a community that's empowered and talking to each other and being opened up to opportunities, I mean, you've already got an organisation like Neighbourly in New Zealand that is doing what you're talking about, is trying to create community. But what happens when you create a community like Lucy's, based on the premise that women are equal and can be empowered, and we can have what we need to have for ourselves now. I mean, we're not even safe in our own homes. You know, the police are called out in New Zealand every 5 minutes to a domestic violence incident. And so the system that we're sitting in at the moment isn't good for men either. You know, men are just as trapped and categorized as women are in the situation that we're in. It doesn't raise them up. So, yes, I think that there is so much opportunity for local connection and local community, and to foment change or just happiness, just to foment happiness, you know, and like-mindedness for new things to grow, for new things to be possible. Yes.
So you're not going to get a situation like Facebook, for example, where you can see her status. Oh, I'm a beneficiary, something like that.
Oh.
So you know, it's not going to happen. So how will she reach beyond to make her situation better? Fair enough, she's got a Lucy's card, but it would seem that like the opportunities. How's she going to know about the opportunities? I guess it's in the network.
So you're talking about a profile? Is it going to be like a social network? So the question is, will it be like a social networking site, and you'll be able to see each other and you'll be able to see what they're up to? And this is not social networking, but there is a social aspect to it. So that is yet to be determined, but this is not, we're not selling each other to each other. So Facebook, you've used the example of Facebook. When Facebook came out and said that they were going to create a currency, that's when I actually took this into earnest stage. I was like, we cannot have a currency based on rating the looks of each other, which is what that company is based on. That is going to be so bad for women. There is no way that that can happen. And that's when I went into overdrive with this idea, because yes, there will be social networking, but it will be based on different kinds of things, is how I see it. For instance, there is already an organisation in New Zealand called Close the Gap, and they provide free workshops, free financial literacy workshops, teaching people, and especially women, how to invest in the stock market. Okay, or there are so many of these organisations that exist that I imagine that Lucy's can basically weaponise. Lucy's can bring these things together and put them in front of people and say, hey, do this, this is, and then people find each other. Yes?
I guess related to that, I mean, building out the platform, is that something that, again, you'll just partner with the bank, or are you going to have a separate technology partner?
Interestingly, banks do invest in that if they find the right partner, because banks are interested in market share. And if you can provide market share, then that is an investment opportunity that they're willing to look at. So in fact, Lucy's could be 18 months to 2 years away from being a reality in the world. It could be a year away from being, it's actually quite quick to create a partner card. Banks do it all the time. But it's it's the ecosystem, it's everything Lucy's is actually ascribing to do that is tricky. Yes?
So, you know, ultimately getting a partner card, but you have to create an ecosystem first, really, don't you?
So I have to create an ecosystem first if with a partner card. Yes. So basically one of the first things that you'd be looking at is merchants, as retailers, as small to medium businesses. And also, this is going to be the call to action next, and I'm going to ask you about, because I need a community. For any entity that's a financial service to take me seriously, I'm going to need a tribe that is saying, I want this product. I want to use my Lucy's. So it's interesting, the first investment will probably be in marketing. And then there's a lot of ways that this can go, depending on when partners jump on and are interested. And Lucy's will have to decide how much of this system Lucy's owns.
Part B of my question is about the tribe. And you said it'll be about things you haven't even thought of yet. But how does, if it's not coming together like a Facebook type platform, how does that part component of it work? How does the tribe gather?
So how does the tribe gather if it's not working like a Facebook? So it's not a Facebook and it's not social media, but it might look like that. I mean, it's not going, your profile's not going to be out there hanging in the wind like that. That's not what I imagine. There will be, so it's perhaps it'll be more event-based. You know, you've co-produced this movie, you turn up to the premiere. You've invested in this designer, like a Patreon kind of system. You go to the opening of the store. You go to the beginning of the season and you see what's coming up in summer because you're an investor in this designer.
I'll help with that.
Thanks. An offer of help from the audience. How fabulous. Yes.
Perhaps you could offer a contact tracing aspect and you would get instant funding and it would take off all around the region. Yeah.
The digital payment market is the biggest fintech driver. Everybody is into digital payments, contactless, everybody wants contactless. It's tricky because the people getting stung at the end of the day are small to medium businesses, because at the moment, there's an average of 1.6 to 2% charged on every transaction fee at the till. As soon as you just go like that with your credit card, you've now charged that cafe owner twice. It's now 5% or more for that coffee because you've paid. And that's why you see a lot of merchants will refuse PayWave. We do not accept PayWave because it costs them. So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? And in New Zealand in particular, I'm not sure if you're aware, but our fees are monstrous compared to other countries, especially Australia.
No, but what I'm saying is you add to this card the ability to record where you've been and used it, and you've got instant tracing, which in the COVID world is gold.
You add to the card that you can see where it's been and it's tracing, and within the COVID world, that is gold. Yes. There are privacy issues, like big oil now is big data. Everybody wants to know where you're going, which is why your phone will often prompt you to turn on your location services. Have you noticed that? You'll turn off your location service and then it says, oh, location services, turn them back on. Because Apple and all the Android users are wanting to know where you go and what you're doing because they're selling your data. The reward schemes that I mentioned earlier are often applied to about selling their data, selling, you know. So yes, contactless tracing, but it's meeting with some difficulty in the privacy terms. But yes, you could. And of course, speaking of COVID, What is our post-COVID world going to look like? You know, what it's taught me, I don't know what it's taught you guys, but what it's taught me is that we need resilient communities. And your community is not resilient if there's a whole lot of richess up here and a whole lot of poverty up here and lots of people who are going to get sick really easily and stay sick and pass that on. That is not a resilient community. A resilient community is a healthy community that has well-being, financial well-being right through the system, which is another reason why I think Lucy's is necessary. And I also think COVID is showing people about their own personal resilience and what they can do personally, what choices they make, what choices I make personally that affect the community. There was an article in The Guardian recently with Melinda Gates of the Gates Foundation saying that new research shows that unless we address the impact of COVID on women now, it's going to wipe $5 trillion off the GDP in 5 years. So women, we matter. And we have value, and we should be investing in ourselves, and we should be investing in each other. So that's why this is this call to action next. Go to the website, go to lucies.co.nz and register your interest. Say, I want to use my Lucies. And what that's going to do is going to be the start of the community. Start of a community I can work with. My email is there, many of you probably already have it. I also want you to be involved, like give me your knowledge, give me your introductions, give me your contacts, give me your ideas. Because as you can see, this is basement level you're getting in on here with Lucy's. There will be seed funding rounds happening soon. And in order for me to prove the product and in order for me to make it a resilient product, I need diversity in my mix. I need different ages, I need different heritages, different perspectives to make Lucy's a reality, because Lucy's needs to be a reality. I tried to forget about it and I couldn't. I did my best and yet here we are. So please do all of that. Go there. Of course, we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. To tell you the truth, I'm not doing a lot on there yet because I'm too busy building the damn thing. But all those things will be coming online soon. So thank you so much for coming to hear about Use Your Lucies, Change the World. I'm so happy you came. I hope I've convinced you that, you know, personally for me, I've got a son and a daughter, and I want them both to be honoured in society, and I want them both to have opportunity, and I want them both to have power and influence. And I don't want one of the gender of my children to influence their material well-being in life. We need some new rules. What's the golden rule? She who has the gold makes the rules. So use your Lucies and change the world. Thank you. And I'll be out in the foyer having a coffee if anybody wants to chat.